Welcome to Vision Profiles podcast. Join us, two dedicated Apple Vision Pro users, as we dive into everything from hardware and software to apps and the latest updates in the world of Apple Vision Pro. I'm Marty Gensius, a faculty member at a Midwest University, podcaster, and an Apple product fan.
And I'm Eric Bolden. I work in IT, but my interest is in playing with content, photography of plants and birds, and panoramic sequences.
Well, it's just you and I tonight, which, we have to do this every once in a while, and that's okay. And then there's I found myself struggling to find stories. And then it was like today I just started running into a few more here and there. So I think we'll do good with what we've got in terms of stories. How was your week? Anything new with your week?
It was not bad. I had too many mornings, not enough evenings to play.
Yeah.
How about you?
Well, I mentioned pre-show I went to Chicago and did the 6 hour drive over and the 6 hour drive back. Made record time for some reason. And it was very smooth driving. And even though we went down to a couple of lanes here and we had some trouble when we got into Chicago, but got off the expressway and did side streets up to where I was headed. Saw a Cubbies game, had a good time, had some really good meals, and spent some time with my relatives, which was fun. And then turned around and came right back. So that's that. I did not bring my Apple Vision Pro with me.
Oh,
I just didn't think I would have time to do anything with it. And frankly, I figured I would be pretty exhausted most of the time anyway. So it stayed home, so I didn't spend any time with it. I did take some computers thinking that I would do a little work and did much less than I normally would. So all in all, it was a good trip.
Did you manage to capture a short immersive video while you were at the game so that you could rewatch it and relive the experience later?
I didn't even think of it. Um, at the Cubs game, they do this intro when you're in the park.
Uh-huh.
And they have a new one apparently, which I didn't quite understand the cultural context, but they still play the old one, which is narrated by Bill Murray. And he's
Oh,
like,
cool.
when I was a kid, coming to the park was a big thing. And they show pictures of the times that he grew up. And I'm not too far from his age, I'm younger. But, the pictures of Wrigley Field were the pictures that I remember of Wrigley Field. So I love this video. And I spent some time trying to see if it was available. Like, could they put it on YouTube? It's only shown in the park from what I can find. And I would love, now maybe if I go to some shop in the park, I could find a DVD of it or something. But it has that nostalgic feel of baseball and the joy that you have as a kid, particularly with Wrigley Field. I don't know if you've been there, Eric. I think I asked, I can't remember. But when you walk up those steps and you get to see the whole park, it's just like, wow, I'm here. And it's right there with you. And he captures that in that video, and I would love to get my hands on a copy of it, just to see that. So, no, of course I didn't take my camera out and shoot any of the game. No, yeah, it's a photographer who thinks about those kind of things, not me. You're always finding those moments to get those great pictures and reminding me when I should have. But no, I just had people making out in front of me, during the game, and people to the right of me drinking so much that they were getting up and getting more beer, and they spent more time in and out of the toilet than they did, I think, in their seats. They were harmless. They weren't obnoxious or anything, but it's like, go to the game, watch the game. I guess, they pay the ticket. They can do anything they want to. But So we're back with another week of Apple Vision Pro, and I had just spent the last couple of hours, 3 hours or so, driving to the airport and driving back from the airport to pick my son up, and we recorded a Gear Up and Go podcast in the car for that. But between the time that I left here and the time I went and got him, of course, a new beta comes out. It never fails. Did you see this coming? I mean, who's
Well,
no one
yeah.
expects the Spanish Inquisition, but did you think something would drop? Did you see it when it happened?
Oh, I figured there would be something, but at the moment I'm avoiding betas, so I didn't have to worry about it.
That's right.
I
Yeah.
got
So
my update last week.
you're placing and if you didn't get the 241, if you're not on the beta and you get the 241 because it's got some important security stuff on it that you have to do. But I'm talking about the developer 253, which just came out this afternoon. And they even, when you search for it, even the articles about it have not much to say about it. It talks about the beta 3 of Vision OS 2.5 is now available for developers and basically says they're gearing up towards WWDC. So are they going to have the 3, you think, at WWDC? Is that the plan?
Hmm, could be.
Yeah.
There might be it wouldn't surprise me if there was a slight delay on Vision OS, but hopefully they'll have updates to everything.
Yeah, in any case, today's beta 3 update brings us closer to that public launch, which should arrive sometime in May. Um, so public launch of what? 2.5 or public launch
Yes.
of yeah, okay, of 2.5. And then we might see 3 for developers in June when WWDC is. But really, not there are betas, developer betas across the board. Um, in OS 18.5, I'm getting messages on my machine here that the beta has come up. WatchOS, tvOS, HomePod. So betas all around is what came out today. And if you go to the really non-informative um, developer notes, it basically has this pretty much the same 3 things that we've seen for 2, and that I think we also saw for beta 1. Request to play music on Amazon Music does not work. They don't seem in any rush to fix that one. Um, and then some store kit issues. And then they just refer you back to the notes. So really not a lot to say about it other than it came out. My headset's sitting over here and I'm trying to download it and start that process just to make sure I'm up. And then I've got other things since I've come home from the airport that I guess I have to update too. So um, that's it for betas. There was something about the developer beta 2 in 18.5 that was discussed, but now I guess the developer beta 3, 18.5.3. But on 2, they talked about how they fixed some issues with the Apple Vision Pro app, the app that's on
Oh,
your iPhone. There were some situations where it would black out, and that has been apparently corrected with beta 2. I don't know if there have been any changes with Vision Pro, the Pro app on beta 3, but I'll find out about that at some point. Um, I don't know if there's anything remarkable there. We've got some folks in the chat room. That's nice to see. And feel free to pose some comments or raise some hell or whatever you want to do in the chat room. And I'm going to go on to the next article, which is the patent article.
That was actually
Uh,
an interesting one.
wow. Um, Apple's patent application that covers facial expression creation for Vision Pro FaceTime calls surfaces in Europe. Talk about what you thought was interesting about this.
Well, I guess I hadn't really thought that much about how how it how the Vision Pro can capture and mimic your expressions in an avatar
Hmm.
and get it mostly correctly and in time. Since it can't really directly see your entire face. So being able to detect muscle movement or shifting of parts of your face and um, comparing that back to the original recording of your face with just a few different actions of you know having your eyes open and closed and smiling and not smiling, and that's enough to animate an avatar so that it looks like you're talking or you know interacting with somebody. And
Yeah,
I this yeah, so it was kind of cool.
yeah, and they talk a lot about RF waves and RF antennas, which I think I never thought about that. But in some implementations, the one or more antennas are configured to minimize interference generated via user hands face coverings like beards or face masks and an associated environment by utilizing a directional radiation pattern associated with the angular dependence on the strength of the RF waves emitted from one or more antennas. And then the figure is enough to really kind of make a case for it.
Somebody spent a lot of time on this.
Yeah, that's why draft people are still, where they talk about the antenna locations. Man, this is wild. Yeah. So if you really want to geek out on facial expressions and how they capture all that stuff, and you can delve through some of this stuff um, and understand it, this is an interesting patent to look at
It's
because
a
it really
lot
tells
of
you.
yeah, it's a lot of effort to make your face move.
Yeah. And there are a lot of people questioning, did we really need this? I, I want to know the technology they use for the googly eyesight. So here we delve at this point into all the rumors. I mean, we last week's show we'd already heard some announcements about Apple Vision Pro having a potential version 2 or a Apple Vision Air version, and now it seems like the articles, and there are a ton of them. And I didn't put them all in there because some of them just seem kind of redundant. And even the ones that I have in there are pretty redundant. But the articles are starting to announce what they think the rumors are, and the leaks are on it. Um, and so they're conjecturing a lot of things like we're still working on smart glasses as a way to capture some of the Meta Ray Ban line, and that according to someone, a Bloomberg, I guess this would be Gurman, Tim Cook cares nothing about nothing else than delivering a pair of AR glasses. I think Tim Cook probably has a lot of cares, like tariffs and how's he going to get those precious metals from China that we need to make stuff. Um, all of those things I think Tim Cook cares about. And I'm not sure if he cares about nothing else than beating Meta to glasses. I think they want to make good glasses. And I think they're going to take their time doing it. They're not, they
No.
never rush to the finish line. And I think they'll be functional and I think they'll be within your context, not just, uh, hey, Google, tell me about this. It's
Yeah.
going to be more towards the context of what you're using them for. So I kind of didn't know what to do with all these articles. I did the best I could, and you'll see this in the show notes, either on YouTube show notes or if you're listening to the podcast, you can find the show notes. I kind of divided them up into the upcoming headset, and then first they talked about what the features are going to be, including a different battery cable. Um, and they showed some leaks of pictures. And I don't know. What did you think about that stuff? Let's just start with the battery cable.
It's a different color.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the
And
big thing. Hey, here's the big surprise. Next one's going to come out in midnight blue.
and the end connector might be different, and how it plugs into the battery, and maybe it won't have as many little parts, or it'll
And
be
I don't I
wider.
don't
Or
I don't understand the purpose of what is, I don't know.
well,
And
my
it's going to be
guess, yeah. Well,
yeah.
I mean, my guess is that the um there were issues off and on with the current battery, and whenever that happened, they took notes to try and figure out what they might have to change. And then perhaps, there's a couple articles that talk, is it does it have less of a capacity? Is it lighter? Maybe.
Y- Yeah, it's
Uh,
shaped
you know,
less in a shape more like a pack of cigarettes than like the long rectangle that it is now. In some of the designs.
I mean,
Yeah,
and whether this is something coming up or just leftovers from some tests a while back, who knows? I
yeah,
mean, they experiment a lot. Whether it's relevant or not, and there's discussions in different articles. Will they do a Vision Pro model that's plugged into another device or not? And if it's plugged into a device, it doesn't need as much battery power. If you're running around with it, maybe it doesn't need as much battery power. Yeah, it's a lot of discussion about possibilities that may or may not ever happen.
yeah. And these are not. I mean, the stories are not coming from marginal kinds of news sources. They're coming from 9to5 Mac. They're coming from Apple Insider. They're coming from Cult of Mac. So whether they felt they needed to put something out based on the conjecture of what Gurman had said, or whether they really think that these are more than just feasible in terms of rumors. So yeah, we do have some late to the game publications, and there were like news sources, like news stations that I found articles on about it, and it's like, okay, well, yeah, that was covered first 2 days of last week, and now we're into this week, and on the weekend, and you're writing articles that kind of replicate a lot of what was done in other articles. So um, here's one that I found on Sama TV, which a full lineup of the successors for Pope Francis. Got to go back to that one. Um, and then the next kind of thread was we're going to use more titanium because it will be lighter and it will make the
And
headset
that could be
lighter.
kind of Yeah, and that could be interesting. I mean, coming up with a way to make it lighter. Um, Newer processors that maybe don't draw as much power,
Wouldn't
and
titanium also make it much more expensive?
well, maybe. On the other hand, if it ends up being much more expensive no matter what, you might as well give a reason for the price increase.
I don't think they can afford to do a price increase. Um, People they've gotten so much tanking on the $3,500 that if they put it up to 4,000, I think it's going to be worse in terms of
Well,
reaction.
yeah, but a price increase might just mean that they can't drop it as much as they had hoped. Maybe it
Yeah,
will be 25 or $2,700, and instead of trying to get it, to 22.
yeah. So a lot of articles about sporting titanium. This one from Cult to Back showing the new colorful connector.
Now, the idea
Um,
of a darker cable or a darker Apple Vision headset is kind
mhm.
of nice.
Yeah, if anything, to separate the models.
Well, and if you're in a darker room or whatever, and you put a headset
Mm,
on, maybe it's not as obtrusive as bright white.
yeah, more about Mark Gurman's report, and then you have some differences here in terms of. And this comes out of Apple Insider. So a near black woven cable, and then the midnight blue, and then the Apple Vision Air headset. And this just kind of collects stuff. This article collects information from social media posts, and that's Mac Daily News. So, uh, yeah. And then I'm clicking through these. And this article I thought was kind of interesting. It was WCCF Tech, whatever that affiliate is, or whatever that is
Yeah.
related to. But talks about the battery puck gets pictured with a smaller design that's also said to be lighter, while showing off a darker color. And there it is. Sort of more, again, more like a pack of cigarettes, not the size of one, but the dimensions of one, than
Hmm.
the longer dimension of the original version. And then, some other articles in here. Apple Vision Air headset is coming from Mac Rumors, rumored to be feature thinner, lighter design with a midnight finish. Basically, picking up on all the same pictures and all the same social media posts with regard to that. Um, I've got a question for you, Eric, and this kind of comes out of because I've never had experience with this, and I'm curious if you did. Have you ever used the headset without the the face mask?
Yes. Although while I was doing it, I was sort of hand holding it because I didn't have a strap that could support that.
Okay.
But there's some cases where if you're doing panoramic images,
Mm-hmm.
with the whole light shield, you're set back from the image a little bit, so the amount of area you can view isn't quite as great. If you remove the light shield, you can put your eyes closer. You get to see more. You can look down more and up and to the sides more. You get more picture.
Yeah. Do you also get the warning that your eyes are too close to the lens? Because I get that a lot. Um,
Occasionally, um, but usually it's because I'm looking for something specific in the picture.
mhm.
At which
Does the
point I
per-
don't care that I'm getting a warning.
does the peripheral stuff, the fact that the periphery is now open and you're not kind of encased, does that?
It depends on when you're using it. If you're doing it in the middle of the night, then no, I don't notice it at all. If you're doing it in bright sunlight outside, yeah, it's irritating.
Yeah, I've never tried
So
to
most of the
use.
time I'm using a light. Yeah. Most of the
Yeah,
time I use a light shield because
yeah, I use the light shield all the time. I haven't tried to experiment with it like you have. The folks that I know that are doing it have the Anapro, uh,
yeah.
attachments, and I went through the first version of Anapro and it never fit my head.
Mm.
And then I saw other reports of the same thing, that it just, it's supposed to be down on your head, and mine never made it down on my head no matter what I did. Um, and I have a big head, so it really kind of surprised me that that didn't occur. But I also then heard other people having the same kinds of issues with the Anapro. And then, of course, Anapro 2 came out, and I'm like, they're like, don't you want an Anapro 2? It's like, nah, it's okay. And that might have fixed it in that. I don't know, but I'm not going to spend the money to find out. So yeah, I was just curious about that because that kind of comes up again with this new versions of. There have been some discussions of ones without light shields. So yeah, I don't know if you took a look at this article because I think uh, yeah, we're kind of moving out of all the rumors associated that came out with was spurned off of the Gurman discussion and mention of how Apple Vision is going to change over the next couple of years. But this article talks about 7 features visionOS UI will break on your iPhone and Apple Watch. And it comes out of Mac Observer. And it gives these different things like visual consistency, um, and how Apple Vision Pro is going to be influencing that in terms of iOS 19. Apparently, introducing circular icons on iOS 19 as they are in Vision Pro, and then compatibility with existing UI elements. This means glyph icons in the setting apps and layout of the app library and notification badges on the home screen. All of those would require some rework to accommodate the new shape. Accessibility features, app icon clarity, and they show some differences between iOS 18 and what they anticipate are potential styles for iOS 19. and then simplicity, battery life, Vision Pro-like interface, dynamic animations, and other visual changes could significantly impact the battery life of the iPhone and Apple Watch. That's because 3D graphics and depth effects require more processing power. And then eye health. The immersive 3D UI elements are designed to deliver an incredible viewing experience. However, it can be taxing on your eyes. Any reactions to that?
Well, so a lot of concerns about things that we haven't seen yet. So they're
Yeah.
speculating what it's going to look like and speculating what the problem is. Some of that will be there. I mean, for sure, there's going to be battery life because every time there's a new OS, there are battery life issues as it reindexes everything and adjusts, and then that goes away like a week later. So yeah, I'm not really that worried about it. And most of the things they were worried about will probably have an option to turn them off for accessibility reasons.
Yeah.
The most interesting was probably UI elements that work at larger sizes and don't at
mhm.
smaller sizes. And that might take a little longer with some trial and error.
Yeah. I'm. I think it's an interesting article in terms of what it provides. Um, we've got some folks in the chat room, so any feedback or any ideas that you have around it. I'm going to jump on to the next article, and for the life of me, this article bothered me about the haptic buttons returning. It didn't bother me. I think anything that we can use in terms of sensors and haptic touch kind of, once you learn it, it kind of goes with it. But I thought about it in terms of Vision OS or Vision Pro 2. And there have always been discussions about having different kinds of sensors or buttons on the headband. And I thought they could very well incorporate haptic buttons. And this is a patent that they filed in September 2023 and made public this month. Outlines the design for buttons with an integrated haptic engine. The technology, once internally known as Project Bongo. Okay, we'll skip right. Project Bongo.
Yeah.
Relied on pressure sensors and magnetic components to stimulate the feel of a physical button being pressed without mechanical movement. It's abandoned but not forgotten. And here's where I think it could be, and they mention products like the watch, the Apple Vision Pro, or even a future version of the pencil, where you get some haptic response that things have happened.
Yeah,
Again, I know,
maybe.
I know how much you like to predict the future. So I think it would be interesting to have other elements besides the crown and the large button on the headset to be able to get some feedback from, because you don't really get feedback from either one of those. You just either press them or press, in the case of the crown, press it or turn it. But you don't get any kind of mechanical feedback letting you know your success with it. So anyway,
Well, yeah, but you still get feedback that you pressed it.
yeah,
You can feel it go down.
yeah.
So
I'm gonna,
we'll see. The watch
yeah,
I can see.
yeah, using haptic buttons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have a watch? You have a watch, right?
Yep.
Is it it's not an ultra? or is it an Ultra?
Yeah, it's
I mean, do
for
you have
first
this?
gen.
Yeah, you have the side button besides the crown
Yep.
button. Yeah. So yeah, then having some programming of that and usefulness of that's really helpful. And I would love to see some more buttons integrated into um, the headset. Of course, we should be doing everything with our fingers and all of that, anyways, without touching buttons. I will put in the link to the Mac Rumors interview with John Gruber, where he talks about Apple Intelligence and he talks a bit about what's going to happen with Apple Vision Pro. But I don't think we need to talk about it at this point. You okay with that?
Yeah. Yeah. It was a good interview though.
Yeah. So and hopefully it's a warm up for him getting invited back to WWDC. uh, So yeah, after that last piece, that got him in a little bit of trouble, I think, with Apple. I'd like I kind of want to share this article about Apple wanted people to vibe code Vision Pro apps with the S Lady. You know what vibe coding is? It's the term
So
it's the term assigned to the process of building apps by using AI by describing the app you want to exist. Um, I in, I have a little bit more comfort with AI than I'd ever have with coding, and so I've seen some examples of articles. This is how I made my app using AI, and they go through the step-by-step process of what you're getting the LLM to create for you, or the machine language, program to create for you. And then there's also interesting articles about how sometimes it sends back just plain wrong code. And then you have to kind of
yeah.
spank it and say, no, fix this like this. And then it'll send back the right version of it. I find it
Hmm.
interesting, the idea of being able to develop apps. I don't have the time to sit down and do it or even try it or follow any recipe
Hmm.
to do it, but I'm fascinated by it that AI could develop a complete app from your ability to clearly describe what you want it to do. Um, so yeah, they were hoping that that people would be able to use it to help fix the code.
Hmm. I think we'll
And
get a version of it.
mhm,
You know,
a version of
I don't know if a version of the, just hold a conversation and create an app that is close to what you're looking for. Maybe a little limited. I mean, they've done variants of that in the past where, you had out parts of code that you could kind of drag objects around, assemble them together, and end up with an app.
yeah.
So, something that is a little more constrained to pieces that work reliably, and then assembling them in, different combinations. So, I think we're
Y-
still a year or two away though.
Yeah, I haven't come up with an idea for an app that isn't like a database app, essentially, a resource app for. Other than that, I haven't come up with an app. And then the idea, if it's a resource app, then I'm gonna have to constantly either add resources or correct old resources. So
Hmm.
something that I could create for an association that would allow them to do that. Um, but yeah, I haven't gotten into the idea of doing any programming around it. So,
Hmm.
um, okay. Now, this is the thing that we've been warned about, And we're going to go into this little article on um, the idea of streaming and streaming sports. And this is I have signed up for the wait list. I don't know if you went through this, but I'm really curious about sports streaming and doing it in an immersive method,
Hmm.
stepping into the stadium with immersive video and spatial audio, feel the crowd, versus watching it on a 2D screen. And apparently, they're looking to try and launch it on multiple platforms: Vision Pro, Meta, and Android XR. You can go in and pick the seat that you want to sit in the stadium. And from there, you get the surrounding environment. And this is 180 degrees is the .co.uk. So 180 degrees.co.uk. And there's some cool stuff in there. But I went ahead and signed up for the wait list. What do you think, Eric?
Well, I kind of looked at the examples that they had, and I'm a little worried about the resolution that it's going to be shown at. The concept is neat. I really like the idea of virtually going to a stadium, picking the seat that you want to sit in, and then watching it. I have no idea how they're going to implement it in a way that matches what I'm expecting to see,
Yeah.
which is a much higher resolution. Like if it was something afterwards, I could see it because you'd have time to process it. I don't know how you do it live streaming. But I really want to see some examples.
See, whereas I would sacrifice resolution for the experience. I don't need to sit in an 8K bubble. I'd rather just have the experience of sitting in the bubble. And so I'd sacrifice the resolution of it just so for the fully immersive experience. And I think I could feel immersed even with 2K or 4K. I don't need that much bandwidth in order to get the sense that I'm sitting in a stadium from a particular vantage point. So,
I think the extra resolution though helps keep you from getting sick if
yeah,
there's too much motion. And I do want good surround audio. I want to know that it's somebody screaming behind me or to the right or left or where out in front. And I think that's harder to do live. But I'm curious enough and interested enough that whatever they come up with, I will at least watch a couple of things. I think this kind of experimenting should definitely be encouraged.
yeah. So, let's go to your article next that you threw in.
Yeah, so this is not out yet, but it looks like it could be kind of fun. So there's a new immersive adventure called Hill Climb. And so someone's trying to race up Pikes Peak in under 10 minutes. And it looks like they've got some decent cameras. So for no other reason, I just want to see the filming on it.
And this you pulled from Reddit in terms of,
Yep. But it looks like it's an Apple immersive, so the quality should
Yeah,
be really good.
Apple Immersive Adventure. Watch only on the Vision Pro. So is this the next immersion video that we're going to see?
I I think so. So I don't know if it'll be this Friday or the following. It seems like it's going to come out fairly soon, but I hadn't seen it mentioned anywhere else. So we just need
All
to keep an
right.
eye out for it.
A little bit of competition coming up. This is a article written about Play for Dream and Megane, Megane, feature micro OLED displays 3840 by 2552 resolution per eye for 3882 pixels per inch.
Hmm.
Um, so higher resolution than they claim, and I guess they're accurate with OLED than Apple Vision Pro. Launched early in 2024. Oh, they're talking about Apple Vision Pro. The micro OLED and more headsets. While Meta has reportedly abandoned plans to launch a headset with a micro OLED in the near term, Samsung's planning on a technology in the upcoming Project Muhan headset. Two additional options have also emerged: Play for Dream, MR headset produced by the Shanghai based company and is now available in select Asian markets for around $2,000, and Megane X Superlight 8K headset priced at $1,900.
Hmm.
Um, Interesting, but what does it do?
Plays video. As long as you have an external computer that's powerful enough.
Yeah, the Play for
It
Dream is a
looks like the
standalone.
processor they're using is a little weak.
They're using Snapdragon XR2 plus Gen 2 system on a chip. It runs a custom version of Android rather than the new Android XR platform. PC connection lacks built-in speakers and tracking. Can I do my taxes on it? That's the thing. I mean, the headsets come out with really great resolution, but if they have no computing, they're just displays that you wear on your head. It's limited. So when you say, "Oh, that's $1,500 less than a Vision Pro," well, yeah, but it's not a computer, and you'll never turn it into a computer. But
One
interesting to
that, yeah,
see.
and if you still have to add audio, yeah.
Yeah.
If
So it's good to see that the stuff is still pushing the market in a lot of ways to make things happen. What else do we have here? There was a review on the Starship Drift, and we both played that game,
yeah,
um, and the review on it was positive. I've got to say, to the developer. And I think I remember I said this was a guy who said this is their one of their first attempts, and so cut them some slack. And they're working on it and improving the aspects of it. So it was very nice. I mean, it was a good review on something that we had covered. Have you gone back to Dodge Asteroids yet again or no?
I, I have not. I figure I'll give it a little bit of time and then I'll come back at it.
Yeah.
It's interesting enough that it's worth going back, but I'm willing to give them some time to play, and maybe after the developer conference.
Yeah. That might, and a little bit after the developer conference might be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Um, so let's talk about other apps that we have. And you've put one in that I think we've talked about before, but we'll get to that too because I think it's a fantastic app. So let's talk about it again. And the developer I think is really kind of very cool with it. But let's start with the ping pong club. Looking for ping pong? Did you try
Well,
this?
I can tell you, I suck at ping pong. I
I,
am so bad.
yeah, I suck at it in the real world. Actually, it's one of those games that I could probably get better at because I used to play a lot of tennis, and I know this is table tennis, but the whole idea of a paddle or racket and a ball and the muscle memory that goes into that, it's pretty cool. I don't know if you attempted at all with it.
I
Um,
I had a horrible time trying to figure out how to get the ball out of my hand. Like it wasn't
yeah,
active, it wasn't active, it wasn't active, and then it dropped on the table, and I lost a point. And it was easiest to lose the point and then wait for the other side to serve the ball. The only thing
right.
I will say is the balls don't hurt when it hits you in the face. But so I had fun. I tried a couple of different games worth. Um, I hit the ball occasionally. Yes, the physics are realistic. The controls are just a tiny bit off for me. Um, I maybe it's better if you're standing up and not sitting down when you're trying it. But I liked the table. That was good. The net was realistic. I hit the net a lot. Um, the sound was good.
Yeah, I
For
overshot
being
the
as
net.
bad at it as I am, I enjoyed it. Yeah,
I
yeah.
had a couple of
So,
aces, and I agree with you. You've got to figure out:
mm,
are you going to stand and play this game, or are you going to? I was sitting when I started the game, which was the mistake. But I still
yeah,
could, from a sitting position, serve and hit the ball. And then at one point, it kind of froze up where I kind of released the ball to hit it. And I noticed that the ball would change from like red to white, and white would be when it was in an active form where you could hit
yep.
it. And once I got that, I was able to figure out angle and spin with my paddle. Again, that's the old tennis stuff coming back.
Uh,
Um,
hmm,
and it was entertaining to the degree that I was able to get some serves in. But the last thing I did was toss the ball to try and hit it, and then it just kind of froze up and disappeared, and nothing seemed to work. And then I finally noticed the ball kind of up in the air, just suspended and red, and there was nothing I could do to grab it or pull it down or make it drop. So I had to boot out of the game.
yeah.
Um, Gurn asks, is this a new game or is this something that's been around for a while? I'm going through the history, and its versions 1.0 was December 27th, 2024. Um, I don't think it really fully developed until maybe February of this year, where they've added some components in it. Um, this one's free. So, new or old, you might want to take a look at it. And there's a review on it in Indie App Spotlight, written by 9 to 5 Mac, just this week, which what kind of drew my attention to it. So you can read more about it if you like. And then we'll go on to another one, which I was really fascinated by. Um, I had a little problem because with it, it's called Real Room, and it's turn your home into a video store. Did you play with this at all, Eric?
Yeah, I set up, one shelf worth, and then I could kind of switch the contents of the shelf. It
All
was
right.
actually kind of cool. It brought back memories of Blockbuster.
Yeah, and for me, I couldn't. I don't read any directions, so it was all kind of intuitive. I set up a shelf. I paid for it, but I can't figure out why. I think what it does is the paid version. Oh no, this is free. Oh, but there is a in-app purchase for $7.99. I went ahead and paid for it, and thinking I'd get more features with it, and I haven't spent enough time to figure it out. But I did notice that there seems to be a limited trial. There might be a limited trial on it because I saw some
Hmm.
notation at the bottom that said, "You have a day and 23 hours left." Um,
Ah,
so that might be the limitation with the without having a paid version of it. I opened up one of the shelves, and Eric, you got to realize I've got about 700 movies and television shows that I've paid for in Apple TV. I guess I don't own them. I guess technically I'm just renting them. They're at my streaming availability. So I clicked on a couple of these. I first was trying to figure, is this something they created, or did they get to my media and figured out what I already own? So this is truly my video store.
hmm.
Or is it stuff that they put up and I just happen to own it? Because, Kurt, I went through and tried to find something maybe that I didn't own and didn't spend too much time, but had a hard time finding something that I didn't own. But then went ahead and clicked on
Hmm.
it, one of the things that I owned, and it gives you the page with different places you can go to get it. And I
Hmm.
think I clicked on watch, and it opened it up with the play button on it because it knew that I owned that particular video.
Hmm.
So it could be very cool. I mean, the other argument is you can just go to Apple TV Plus and get whatever you want, anyways. But if you own it, you own it. Um, but it could be very cool in terms of maneuvering things around. I do my stuff in this very small office, so it's like, okay, let's use your environment. It's like my environment's not that big for me to put up shelves and turning them. That was the other thing I
Yeah.
hadn't quite figured out how to do in terms of placing them. But since I paid for it, I'll play with it more. But it's an app worth. I think it's an
Yep.
app worth looking at.
And I think I just told it I had one small wall and could only deal with one shelf, and then you could just kind of swipe through that same shelf, and turn the page basically. But it was neat to be able to kind of browse movies on a shelf. Um, at some point, I want to go back in and see if you can rearrange it by, subject area or type or whatever, and browse the shelves that way.
You go into
Because even though I
settings.
have them and I can see them, okay,
Yeah,
that
settings will give
so I'll
you
play with that
options
later.
of what genre you want to put on shelves.
Ah,
And
okay.
since you haven't paid for it, it'd be interesting to see what, because they're not really clear on. That would be my one gripe about it. Tell me what I'm paying for. But uh, you could go in and see whether you have that customizability with it.
Ah,
in the settings option of the app, but I did, and I was like, okay, I see what I can do here, but I didn't spend much time with it to be able to do it yet. So,
and I'll give it a
um,
couple of days and see if after a day and a half it disappears.
well, if it disappears, then that's you won't be able to answer the questions about what you can do in settings.
Well, I mean, like what I can do now.
Ah, yeah,
Yeah, I'll try the settings right away, but I might still be in the trial period,
yeah,
so
that's
I'll
true.
try it twice.
So let's take a look at again that Real Room also has we have an article that's a review on it. So if you want to read a little more into it, um, it will give you some background and experience of it. And I probably should have asked the question. Probably should look the answer to my question of what you're getting for $8. Yeah, it doesn't appear to be in this article either.
Hmm.
Well, you'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll kiss $8 goodbye. Um, let's go to this one. This is one we talked about a couple of weeks ago, or I kind of went in it, and I prior to talking about it, I posted to Blue Sky and to the account of the guy who develops this that we're going to talk about it on Vision Profiles. And he was very nice. And I told him, I really enjoy what I've seen here, and has been complimentary and has actually, you know, liked when we
Hmm.
post that we're going to do a live show. He'll share that. So he's done some cool. It's not just this app, but he's also done some other apps that I think are pretty cool too. He does the museum app, but he also does an app that's about well, there's Mexico AR, which is an education app if you want to learn about Mexico. But I'll open the website up and you can
Yeah.
kind of give a little talk about what you saw in this that was so cool.
I really kind of enjoyed the interface to it. It's there's one ticket you can get at no charge, but then they have other um, options where there is a charge, but they do a really nice job of building out a full immersive environment where the painting exists in a themed room. So you can look down at the floor and it's themed in the same kind of subject. Look at the walls, spin all the way around. You're in a full room that is basically designed to show that particular artwork. And then there's background description, um, a narration of what you're looking at. And I don't know if I was just in a better mood this time or what, but I kind of enjoyed um tr- going to that particular exhibit, and I think I'll go back and look at some of the other exhibits. It kind of reminds me of some of the themed shows that they tr- do, where they travel from city to city, set up an exhibit where they've got projectors to change the floor and change the ceiling so when you walk in, it's a whole immersive experience. Except this one, you get it all in the Vision Pro. You don't have to travel to another city to see it. Um, so it's creatively done.
Yeah, I'm since we're in it, I'm going to throw on his other app, which is Mexico AR. This is Miguel Garcia Gonzalez. Um, and this is a good example of what the app is like. You get screenshots. Well, this is available in the App Store for iPhone and iPad. Now, he does something with this
Hmm.
in Vision Pro. Um, And what you have then, these are floating in your choice lists in Vision Pro. It's free, also nice. Um, but yeah, we'll have to go back and look at that. Maybe next show I'll find it and bring it to folks' attention again. But it's sort of like a cultural tour of Mexico. And of course, you can get it in Spanish or English. You can switch languages
Oh,
within the
nice.
experience. So yeah, it's a good experience. So anything else, Eric? Anything more to share? We've got Gern who in the chat room who said a few things. We had more people in the chat room who were quiet and just kind of watching along. But we're glad to have folks join us in the chat room. You can follow the live stream at youtube.com/@visionprofiles on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or catch the video later on YouTube. And of course, the audio on any podcatcher series that you want to. Anything good coming up for you this week?
I don't know. I'm hoping to have a little more sunlight. I want to try and do some pictures outside. All the spring flowers are coming out now, and
Yeah.
so I've got a chance again to try and do some immersive video and spatial images, um, and kind of try and stitching those together, and then hopefully we'll get a chance to try another video session to see if I can share pictures to you.
Yeah.
We
We
can.
can set that up, work out some time to do that. Um, and we'll have to make sure that we have all the pieces in the right place that I didn't have the last time when we did it. Uh,
Yeah.
Other than that, we've got Macstock coming up. I've got some ideas for Max. Oh, I'll show this to you after the show because they're not within reaching distance. I have um, our stickers. Our stickers came, and
Ah.
I didn't leave one out on my desk. So I'll show
Hmm.
it to you after the show. Yeah, we'll have Vision Profile stickers that are cut
Nice.
out and framed for Macstock. Macstock Conference and Expo.com happens July 11th, 12th, and 13th in Woodstock, Illinois, or around Woodstock, which is why we call it Macstock, actually. The hotel's in Crystal Lake, just a little piece down the road from Woodstock. Woodstock is where they shot Groundhog's Day with Bill Murray. They used that as a replica, and the town square is still very much like that. It's very cool. But you've got 3 days of presentations and workshops and fun stuff in the evening. And Eric and I will be there with our Vision Pro headsets and figuring out what to do with them or to do something different with them. And we hope we'll have other folks like we had last year bring their Vision Pro headsets. But there's a ton of topics, really good presenters, and lots of fun. And you'll learn lots of things. And for me, as people talk about new technology, it's like, ooh, let me open up Amazon. Ooh, let me open up Amazon. So I wound up spending some money on that when I'm there. But it's a good time. It's a real good time. Some great restaurants like Portillo's around there. You can get some good Chicago beef, Italian beef, and other things. It's just a great experience. Macstock Conference and Expo.com. Just take a look at the website and take a look at the website as we get closer, and you'll see what you can. You can get $50 off by just putting in the code PodTalk50, and that'll get you $50 off your enrollment or ticket. There are also virtual tickets, so if you can't show up, you can also get access to all of the videos and all of the training that goes on as part of Macstock. Mike is building the site and starting to put in, he has speakers in, and also starting to put in the we'll soon see what the topics are and what the schedule is going to look like for the topics as he builds that. So we hope you can join us. And if you don't join us, take a look at getting a virtual ticket and enjoy all the training that goes on with that. Thanks for tuning in. We love to hear from our listeners. If you have ideas or you want to join an episode, hey, this is like, I can open another box up and we can bring you in and you can be part of the conversation. And you don't have to be experts. I mean, look who you're dealing with around that. So join us, and you can email us at visionprofilespodcast@gmail.com and let us know your interest. Whether you're a developer, a user, or you're just interested in talking about the topic, we can put another box in for you and join us with Daniel, and occasionally David comes on, and just have a great time. Our bumper music is Free Jazzy by Steve Combs, courtesy of the Free Music Archive. Learn more about us and the Vision Profiles podcast on our website, thepodtalk.net. Spread the word to other visionaries. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.